MB Friends presents the ENFJ, the teacher.
Learning has to be back and forth, led out of its hiding place, or, as suggested by the word education, it has to be educed by an individual with educative skills. More than any of the other idealists, ENFJs are natural teachers, with the uncanny ability to influence those around them, and without seeming to do so. Even as children, these teachers may attract a neighborhood gang of children ready to listen to them and to follow them in play. And adult teachers are wonderful leaders of group learning experiences, more capable than any other type of calling forth each learner's potentials. As a variant of Plato's idealists and Aristotle's ethicists, the ENFJ is a little different from other NFS in most respects. Like all the idealists, they're abstract in communicating and cooperative in implementing goals. They want to learn about the humanities, are preoccupied with morale, and work well with personnel. In orientation they are altruistic, credulous, mystical, situated on pathways, and with their eye on tomorrow. They base their self-image on being seen as empathic, benevolent, and authentic. Often enthusiastic, they trust intuition, yearn for romance, seek identity, prize recognition, and aspire to the wisdom of the sage.
Intellectually, they are prone to practice diplomacy far more than strategy, logistics, and especially tactics. Further, with their scheduling nature, they tend to choose the directive mentor's role over the probing advocate's informative role, and because of their expressiveness they prefer the part of teacher over that of counselor. Teachers expect the very best of those around them, and their enthusiasm inspires action in others and a desire to live up to their expectations. ENFJs, around 2% of the population, have the delightful characteristic of taking for granted that people will meet their expectations, never doubting that people will obey their implicit commands. And, more often than not, people do, because this type has extraordinary charisma. These outgoing mentors arrange work and social engagements ahead of time and tend to be absolutely reliable in honoring these commitments, but they are also comfortable in complex situations which require the juggling of much data with little pre-planning. An experienced ENFJ group leader can dream up, effortlessly, and almost endlessly, activities for their groups to engage in, and stimulating roles for members to play. In some teachers, inspired by the responsiveness of their students or followers, this can amount to a kind of genius which other types find hard to emulate. Such ability to preside without planning reminds us somewhat of an ESFJ, provider-guardian, but the latter acts more as a master of ceremonies than as a leader of groups. ESFJs are natural hosts and hostesses, making sure that each guest is well looked after, or that the right things are expressed on traditional social occasions. In much the same way, ENFJs value harmonious relations, can handle people with charm and concern, and are usually popular wherever they are, but they are not so much social as educational leaders, interested primarily in the growth and development of individuals. Teachers consider people their highest priority, and they naturally communicate caring, concern, and a willingness to become involved with others. As a result, people often turn to them for nurture and support, which they usually manage to deliver, showing sincere interest in the problems of those around them, employees, colleagues, students, and so on. But they can also become over-involved in these problems, and find themselves unable to turn away from such demands even when they become unreasonable. At times, indeed, the personal needs of others can overwhelm ENFJs, and they may find themselves overextended emotionally, feeling responsible for the feelings of others to an extent which can place a burden on their families, or, if forced to let go of other relationships through sheer unavailability of time or energy, they experience a guilt all out of proportion to the realities of their commitments.
Teachers have a highly developed ability to empathize by introjection, that is, taking into themselves the characteristics, emotions, and beliefs of others, even to the point of unconsciously mimicking others. But this unusual ability to relate to others with empathy can also pose a danger for them, because they can easily over-identify with others and pick up their burdens as if they were their own, actually putting at risk their own identity. ENFJs are also vulnerable to idealizing their personal relationships, raising them to a plane which seldom can sustain the realities of human nature. Because of this tendency to project their own ideals into their relationships, they may unwittingly overpower their friends and loved ones, who doubt that they can live up to such an exalted conception of themselves, unaware that teachers are their boosters, not their critics. A wide range of occupations offer teachers success, even though their longing for the ideal often carries over to their careers and can cause them some restlessness. Good with language, they contribute to an unusual level when dealing with people, particularly face-to-face. The media and the ministry are populated with talented ENFJs, and they make excellent therapists, educators, and primary care physicians. They should avoid occupations that do not make use of their interpersonal talents: accounting, law practice, the military. Otherwise, almost any activity where sustained personal contact is involved suits their diplomatic skills. Teachers take communication for granted and believe that they are instinctively understood and that their communications are naturally accepted. Just as they themselves are accepting of others, so do they assume that others are the same with them. When they find that their position or beliefs were not comprehended or accepted, they are surprised, puzzled, and sometimes hurt. Fortunately, this does not happen with high frequency, since ENFJs have a remarkable fluency with language, especially when communicating in speech. They are influential. Therefore, in groups, having no hesitation about speaking out, no matter how large or small the group may be.
Outgoing, and perhaps the most expressive of all the types, ENFJs do not hesitate to communicate their feelings. Their negative feelings can be blurted out, like steam from a boiling tea kettle with a rattling lid, and their positive feelings can be voiced with dramatic and even histrionic flourish. Teachers can, with practice, become spellbinding orators. These ENFJs would do well to follow their hunches, for their intuition tends to be well developed. On the other hand, their use of logic in decision-making may not be so sound, and checking with a rational might be at times advisable for them. In the framework of personal and interpersonal insight, however, they are unparalleled. Without a doubt, they know what is going on inside themselves, and they can read other people with remarkable accuracy. Seldom are they wrong about another's intentions. Teachers place a high value on mutual cooperation in their closest relationships, and thus make excellent companions and mates. They are tireless in their efforts to promote harmony with their loved one, giving generously of their time and energy to make sure their mate is happy. Indeed, ENFJs feel personally responsible when home life does not go smoothly. Unfortunately, this dedication often exists side by side with their dream of the perfect relationship, a characteristic of all idealists, but one which is particularly strong in the teachers. Their longing for an ideal mate can even cause them some restlessness, at times bringing on a vague dissatisfaction with the mate they already have. Teachers and architects have every chance of being well suited. The educator or growth catalyst inherent in the expressive and scheduling teacher, ENFJ, wants to bring out the latent talents in his or her loved ones, and what better target than the reserved and probing architect INTP, for beneath the architect's cool, collected, detached, and doubting exterior lies an engineer of buildings, machines, tools, operations, language, mathematics, or whatever can be engineered. If, that is, this diamond in the rough can be inspired to fulfill his or her potential, architects and teachers are apt to share rare compatibility. The reserved and probing architects, INTPs, all too easily lost in their abstract designs and desire for coherence, can despair of ever finding a mate who will listen to them and appreciate their visions. Fortunately, the expressive and schedule-minded teachers, ENFJs, brimming with ideas in their own right, are catalysts of the personal growth process in others, able to bring out the best in others with inspiring personal enthusiasm. All the idealists seem to have this facilitative capability in some degree, but teachers seem to have it in abundance, and architects find this combination of intellectual spark and personal sparkle quite irresistible. Lastly, as parents, teachers are deeply devoted to their children, yet tend not to be domineering. On the contrary, they are supremely affectionate and nurturing, so much so that they can be taken advantage of by a particularly demanding child. If you have not already done so, it is highly recommended that you view our 3-part video series, An Introduction to the Idealist Temperament. As always, please remember that learning about an individual's temperament is only a starting point, not ending point, to learning about that unique individual.
The source content of this video is Please Understand Me Too by David Gersey. For more information, please go to mbfriends.com.